BlackRock downplays how big it is in the wake of Warren backlash. What the fuck does any of that mean? Well, Elizabeth Warren, I don't know, sent up some smoke signals, gathered a bunch of industry insiders together, and tried to come to a consensus that, hey, you know what? Government subsidized hedge funds probably shouldn't be buying up middle-income homes and effectively creating rent slaves all across the country. You know what? That might not be a good thing. And you know what? For once, Chief Running Mouth is onto something. But once again, just like trying to fire a bow and arrow off the back of a horse, she just missed the mark, because of course she does. So what happens when you're only 1,024th fucking whitest person ever? No, but what's BlackRock? Well, it's one of the world's largest equity firms. Hedge fund, you probably heard that term as well. Somebody who manages the money of the people who have a lot of money, okay? On the outset, in a capitalist system, it's a good thing. You know what? It's somewhere, you know, you put your money, you hope it grows, they put it in the right places for it to grow. Sure, there's some risk involved, but these people are very good at what they do. But when they get funded from the government, and then when they call for more taxing on everybody in the society in order for them to get funded, then we got some problems. Then we have somebody who looks like they're going to be one of the big players in the Blade Runner future that is inevitably coming down the pike on this one. Because if you think Amazon has a big stake in the way that the world is going to be shaped in the 2020s and the 2030s, it's child's play compared to what BlackRock has and what they have control of. You'll see here in a moment. So BlackRock Incorporated pushed a message to investors that may seem surprising, coming from a $9 trillion asset manager. Really not that big. Oh, really? Really? Huh? Its revenue comprises just 3% of the industry's, a smaller proportion compared to the very top players in the sector's senior managers of the New York-based firm said Thursday during an Investor Day presentation. In cloud computing, the top 5 players hold more than 2/3 of the market share, and in sales and trading, the top 5 command 42%. The concentration among the top 5 asset managers, including BlackRock, the world's biggest, but remember, they're not that big, is about 11% according to the firm's presentation. See, we can go ahead and manipulate the numbers so it doesn't look like we have that much of a stake. We just control $9 trillion. Don't worry about that. That sound like billions? No, yeah, billions. Yeah, we're not doing very good. Give us more money. We have a very long way to grow. Get it? Said Mark Weidman. Oh boy. BlackRock's head of corporate strategy. We may be the leader, but we have only a 3% market share in global asset management. See, you can find whatever numbers you need to find when you can add so many qualifiers like that. Remember, they control $9 trillion worth of assets, but we only have 3% of the world's assets that we manage, right? That's not that much. 3% isn't that much, right? It's extremely low versus our potential. See? We could be controlling more if you would just let us. Lawmakers are scrutinizing BlackRock's scale and influence. U.S. Senator, a Massachusetts Democrat, questioned Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen in March about whether she would request the market overseers considered labeling BlackRock a systemically important financial institution or one deemed too big to fail. Oh, I think it's much more the latter. The designation comes with requirements on how much capital such firms need to shore themselves up against potential losses. So yeah, this was around the same time that Elizabeth Warren was also asking about, oh, there's some regulations that we should be putting out there because those gosh darn Redditors are buying up and they're making the market so unstable, and we need more regulation because over-regulation led to this. So you know what's going to be the solution? More government. So why is BlackRock such a big threat? Well, BlackRock is fueling a 120, this is a mind-numbing amount of money, $120 trillion transformation on Wall Street. Yep. You read that right. You heard that right. 120 trillion. That is trillion with 9 zeros after the 120. Lord have mercy. Big money is turning its back on companies that aren't transforming or that aren't conforming to one simple idea, sustainability. It's fueling one of the biggest transfers of capital the world has ever seen, and this article doesn't take into account any of the Biden-era implementations because it was written December 28th of 2020, so it's still relevant because this plan is still very much in effect, but we haven't been able to see the different effects of the current administration on said plan, seeing how it's expedited it. BlackRock, with over $7 trillion in assets under management, says its clients will double their ESG investments in just 5 years. Well, they've gained that $2 trillion over the course of 6 months, so I think they're doing pretty good, but still well below their potential. Money managers on the street are saying climate change is their top concern. Really, huh? How can we get our money in there, and how can we figure this out? And a leading criteria when determining where they will put their money to work, sustainable assets already account for $17.1 trillion, but there could be as much as $120 trillion up for grabs. And that's exactly why sustainable stocks are outperforming the market. While big money is busy scrambling for somewhere in the park of $120 trillion that's up for grabs, it could be looking something like FaceDrive, a tech-driven, multi-vertical, next-gen company. What a whole host of buzzwords. Company with an ESG-focused portfolio that pulled off a major coup with the acquisition of Washington, D.C.-based Steer, a high-end EV subscription service that plans to get even more EVs, electric vehicles, on the road, and even to upend the way we think about car ownership altogether. How terrific. And you remember, this was before Biden put out the idea that the rest of the military and all government vehicles by the year, 2030, need to be electric? Fucking weird, huh? That's just one example, but this article is massive, I tell you. And there's a whole bunch of interesting things you can glean from this as well, as that Alphabet's hopping on the bandwagon of the ESG boom, Nvidia, graphics cards connoisseurs, Next Era Energy, Shopify, Polaris, TELUS, Magna International. It's literally everywhere. Everybody's trying to buy in and get in on the ground floor of this whole green energy revolution, because literally everything is infrastructure. Bring it up pretty much every day, because that's what happens when you allow retards to pervert a language. So, okay, if BlackRock was just doing their shit, if they were just fucking minding their own business, they were just, I don't know, kind of silently buying up the world, what would be the problem? Okay, well, other than you shouldn't allow monopolies to exist, really, in the way that they would be controlling everything. But how about the people who made it big at BlackRock finding their way into the Biden administration? Why are they getting preferential treatment over everybody else? Well, here are 9 fascinating facts about how BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, conducts business, really. The firm has hired notable policymakers over the years, and at least 3 leaders from the New York-based asset manager on their resumes now hold prominent roles in Joe Biden's cabinet. Yep. Former BlackRock investment executive Brian Dees Nuts leads Biden's National Economic Council, effectively serving as his top advisor on economic matters. I wonder why. Biden also tapped Adelaide Wally Adeyemo, a former chief of staff to BlackRock's chief executive and longtime Democrat Larry Fink, to serve as a top official at the Treasury Department. Oh, God, the swamp is deep, it is large, and it is never ending. Meanwhile, Michael Pyle, BlackRock's former global chief investment strategist who worked for the Obama administration before joining the firm, serves as chief economic advisor to Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, well, what's so wrong with that? These people clearly know what they're doing with money, right? Wouldn't you want them around the president? Wouldn't you want them around the next president as well, just advising them on their economic policies? Yes, that would be a good thing. Somebody who has an inside track and knows how to maneuver this stuff and what would be best for the economy overall. But these aren't good people out with altruistic values. These are people who are just looking to enrich the people that put them in the position to be close to other people. People. These are people, like I was alluding to, once again I said people, I apologize, who would be unaffected by tax hikes. Listen, when you control $9 trillion, and probably by the time that I'm done editing this and publishing it, probably closer to 10, you think they're going to give a fuck about a couple of different corporate tax hikes? You think that they're going to care about taxing the middle class, taxing the lower class, making people pay their fair share? Because as you can see here, U.S. economy can definitely withstand tax hikes. Blackrock's Rick Reeder says, yeah, of course they can. Because everybody has just as much money as Rick does. Everybody else has a beautiful home behind them like this. Don't let this come off as seeming any way like it's a jealous ploy that I hate this guy because he's rich. No, I hate him because he's corrupt and he's just looking to enrich himself. If I was put in the same place with the same opportunity to create wealth for myself, if I worked hard enough to make it up to that position, I wouldn't be so slimy as to do shit like this. A business leader warns about the risks of corporate tax hike. The world's largest asset manager is decidedly unfazed. And as you can see, this is from CNN. So we're going to try to figure out exactly where they're trying to spin their propaganda, because as you can see right up there at the top, recession proofed. Okay, when did we start talking about a recession? Oh, that'll be for the final article that we use for this video. Anyways, as business leaders warn about the risk of corporate tax hike, the world's largest asset manager is decidedly unfazed. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We still got trillions left. The resurgent U.S. economy can handle it. Wait a minute, but we got recession proofed? Interesting. Blackrock executive Rick Reeder told CNN Business the White House is laying groundwork for lifting the corporate tax rate above its current level of 21%, which is about in the sweet spot, and then moving it up to 28%. That seems to be where it's at right now. Killing off, any kind of competitors, people on the come up, and just really not affecting BlackRock that much because they can afford to shirk this, okay? They have all the high-powered accountants. They're going to find a way around this, okay? It's not going to affect them. It's just going to affect any sort of competition coming up who don't have the access to the lawyers and the accountants out there. Not like Joe Biden thinks that black people can't get accountants and lawyers, but the people who know these tax codes inside and out, they have a very hefty hourly wage. The business community is warning that the business tax hike, the first ever since 1993, which was cool, man. Oh yeah, it worked really well for Bill Clinton, but do you remember the malaise that happened under the latter half of Bill Clinton's term? The W administration, the Obama administration, all of the problems that brought. And then the best economy literally ever for just about everybody came under Trump once he did what? Lower the corporate tax rate. God, these people need to read history a little bit more. Or for Biden, I don't know, just look around at his colleagues and then just assess what happened. When did everything get so good, man? And how do we enrich our friends? But Reeder, BlackRock's chief investment officer of global fixed income, doesn't think rolling back the Trump's tax cut will be debilitating to the economy. It could actually be a positive growth. Are you retarded? I think 21% is too low, Reeder said in an interview. He pointed to how many companies use their tax savings to buy back stock as evidence of the benefit that business is too high. Yeah, it was working oh so well for all of our competitors. Oh yeah, we took advantage of that stuff too. Yeah, no, we definitely know the loopholes and the different tax breaks that we can get. But yeah, everybody else, they're starting to creep up on us, okay? Did you see those numbers that were out there? We only control 3%, okay, of our potential and whatever else. But everybody else, oh no, yeah, they're catching up. Aren't you guys the biggest? Yeah, no, shut up about that. So yeah, all this talk is leading to market instability, raising the corporate tax rate, because as much as Dick Reeder here thinks that it's such a great idea to be raising the corporate tax rate, not many other people are, okay? And regular working class people who have a small business, they're bearing the brunt of this. Because if we're going to take a look back to 1993, when I was just a wee little toddler, we can take a look back to 2008. When all of these chickens came home to roost, when the entire brunt of really bad policy decisions decided to come home and make their presence known, because annual inflation soars to 5% in a biggest jump since the aforementioned 2008. Inflation took a fresh swipe at American consumers in May, with the Consumer Price Index surging by 5% over the past year. Oof, the biggest annual spike of the measure since 2008. On a monthly basis, May consumer prices rose by 0.6% from April. Labor Department figures showed a slight drop from 0.8% prior month, which is the biggest gain since June 2009. Imagine that. The sharp jump in the year-over-year inflation number is partly due to the base effect, which is the idea that the last spring pandemic lockdowns and the plunging economy pushed inflation to an abnormal low. Oh, just pushing it off, right? The base effect is expected to level off in June, while economists polled by Reuters predicted the annual consumer price index to rise by 4.7% and the monthly reading to come in at 0.4% in May. Markets generally shrugged off inflation running hotter than expected. U.S. stocks opened higher, and while the interest rate on the benchmark 10-year Treasury note and the gold spot price initially ticked up, both quickly fell back down and remained largely flat at the time of reporting, which is so indicative of the Biden administration so far. Oh yeah, all those idiots think that, oh yeah, this is going to be the big change. Yeah, this guy who's been in public office for 47 years, he's going to be the big change, and then he starts implementing his policies, and then flat as a fucking pancake. Flat as Mazie Hirono's ass. There's no way to spin it. This isn't good. They expected it to be, significantly lower, just like the way that Joe Biden thought that, I'm going to create 2 million jobs in my first 100 days as president. How many jobs was that? 250,000. That's not quite 2 million. Oh boy, I just won't bring it up ever again. We're just going to focus on the economy and we're going to build back better. And guess what you're building? A fucking bubble. An economic bubble. But it's alright. All your friends that you've staffed your economic cabinet with, they're going to get paid and they're going to be able to, retire happy. It's just going to be the middle class, which was expanding under Trump, is just going to get, brought back because it's a return to normalcy, right? At this point, I'm not too sure if there are any Democrats out there that actually care about poor people, working class people, or if they just hate the rich at this point. Hate the rich that aren't, helping them out, aren't bankrolling them because they become the party of big business. They still want to let you know that they give, kind of a hand wave to the poor and working class every 4 years, but outside of that, they could fucking care less about you. But who am I talking to? Everybody that I talk to is kind of right of center. You guys don't give a fuck about Democrats anyways. They stink, they're bad at economics, and then it just takes another Republican to come in and kind of clean everything up. So hopefully we can survive the next few years. So now we got to talk about stuff that's happening in Canada with a guy who ran over a family, and it's very complicated. And we got some information on it that I don't think many other people are picking up on. So let's see where this goes. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.